Right, welcome back to the South Bromsgrove High School Duke of Edinburgh's Awards channel on YouTube. What we're going to be looking at in this short clip is some ideas for your breakfasts, for your Duke of Edinburgh's expeditions. Could be bronze, silver or gold, it doesn't really matter. Of course, with all of our food choices, we need to make sure that we've got food that's high in calories. We want to make sure it's easy to carry, so that involves making sure that it's quite lightweight and it's also packed in robust packaging that isn't going to get damaged while you're on your expedition. We need to make sure that it doesn't involve any refrigeration, otherwise there's a chance that you might get ill. For example, eating sort of like meats on DofE can be pretty difficult. So anything that you buy from the fridge compartments in the supermarket is pretty much out, okay? There's a few exceptions which I'll talk about in some of these clips. We need to make sure it's reasonably balanced in terms of its nutrition, so you don't want to have everything just based on sugar, otherwise you're going to find that you get a big boost of energy and then you crash down as that sugar doesn't really fill you up either, okay? So you need to make sure you've got some complex carbohydrates in there and also fats and proteins will help to keep you fuller for longer, okay? Also, don't neglect the fibre, otherwise, especially on your longer expeditions like at silver and gold, you're likely to find that kind of starts to mess up your digestive system as well. And last but not least, you need to make sure that your food choices are something you're going to look forward to eating, otherwise you're going to have a pretty miserable expedition, okay? In this clip, we're looking at breakfast choices. Now, you can go really, really quick and easy and cold for your breakfast, okay? So we often find that these pre-packed chocolate-filled pancakes are quite popular with students, and that's okay. You can get your calories that way. Also, sometimes people choose to go for like pre-packed breakfast biscuits, which is okay. However, it's usually, especially if you've got a slightly cold expedition season, it's usually a good idea to try to have something hot for breakfast, okay? Now, one of the things that you probably wouldn't want to take on your expedition is these pre-packed porridge pots, because they're quite bulky and also they're quite prone to getting damaged and burst open in your rucksack. So what we recommend is at home, take these porridge pots and then empty them out into a plastic bag, like a Ziploc bag, and then you can put 3 or 4 porridge pots into the same Ziploc bag. That will be okay for 3 or 4 people in your group who are using the same stove. Okay, so you wouldn't bring the pots on expedition, you just bring the porridge oats in a plastic bag, okay? Then what you can do when you're on expedition is you tip out your porridge into a pan like this, and then you pour in your boiling water, okay? And then we start cooking that up, okay? So it's a bit of guesswork as to how much water you need in these situations, but what we're going to do is we're going to get that back onto the stove, and we're going to start stirring this round. I can instantly see here that I added too little water to begin with. That's going to make this very, very thick porridge, but it's better to add too little water to begin with, because you can always add a little bit more. You can add a little bit more hot from our boiled pan of water, or you could add a little bit of cold if you needed to, okay? Now, this porridge is pretty quick to cook, that's why they call it instant porridge, so we just need a little bit of stirring here, and then that's pretty much done, okay? So that porridge, that tub of porridge there, is going to feed about 3 people, okay? And that's really easy to cook on your stove, all right? What you could do then is you could tip that porridge out into sort of like 3 people's bowls, okay? And then what goes best with golden syrup flavoured porridge is, of course, more golden syrup, okay? So if you want to get more calories from a bit of extra sugar on DofE, then get your squeezy tub of golden syrup and pop that on like that. You could also drop in things like chocolate raisins, or maybe some chocolate drops or whatever, just to kind of brighten that up. And of course, remember, these porridge pots, they come in lots of different flavours as well, okay? A slight variation on that is something like a kind of Swiss muesli. I tend to find that this Alpen works really, really well for this kind of purpose. And again, at home, you would pre-package this up. So we're going to take around 1 cup of Alpen. We're going to pop that into our sort of our plastic bag at home, okay? That's 1 cup per person, I would recommend. And then we're going to mix that in with some some hot chocolate. Okay, about a quarter of a cup of hot chocolate is going to go well with this. So in goes our hot chocolate. Mix this up at home, remember, and then when you're on camp, all you have to do is tip this out into your bowl, okay, mix it up, and then add your hot water again, okay? So that's what it looks like to begin with. And then when we add our hot water, we're going to find we've got a lovely chocolate muesli, okay? Again, you can reheat this on the stove, and you can add as much or as little water as you want. And if you wanted to liven that up with a few extra sort of chocolate raisins or extra dried fruit, then that's pretty nice too, okay? I think tend to recommend this on longer expeditions, so for silver and gold, where you might not want to have the same breakfast every single day, okay, for three mornings in a row, okay? So this one here is just one portion's worth, but remember you'd package up at home exactly the right quantity for the number of people who are sharing your stove, okay? So we've got our nice chocolate muesli there. Now, there are other options too, okay? So you can go all in terms of cost, and you could buy something like this, which is a dehydrated meal. So this one here is a sort of a kind of a muesli, all right? The great thing about these dehydrated meals is that they say on them how many calories they have. So this one here has got 600 calories, and this one here, again, a pre-packaged meal here. This one has got in it around about 450 kilocalories for this one, okay? But the downside to these mainly is that they're just so very expensive, okay? So it's fine if your budget stretches that way, but to my mind, for breakfast, the cheaper options often provide you with just as much energy and they're just as tasty, okay? The difference between these two types of prepackaged meals is that this one's dehydrated, so it's very, very light, but I still don't think it would be any lighter than your own chocolate muesli mix or your own porridge mix. This one here is a hydrated pouch meal, so it's actually got the liquid inside it, okay? The way that you cook these ones is you put them into a pan of boiling water and you just boil that up for as long as it takes. It's completely safe to eat them even if they're cold, but obviously they taste a little bit better if they're hot, okay? Hope you've enjoyed that clip about some breakfast options, and what we're going to look at next is some options for lunch and dinner.